Hey guys, in this video I am comparing two Sigma lenses. The first one is an old one. It's been around for years now. This is the Sigma 60mm F2.8. It has been discontinued now, but you could still find it here or there. And the second lens is the Sigma 56mm F1.4, which is the newest offering from Sigma. It's a great portrait lens. In fact, my favorite portrait lens, yes, even over the Sony 85mm, which seems to be a recurring question on a lot of my videos. I prefer this over the Sony 85. So anyway, I wanted to compare these two lenses because I thought it would be interesting to see if Sigma has gotten any better as far as their lens quality and their lens construction, and also because they are both similarly sized. They both have autofocus, and their colors and their sharpness is very good, or at least that's what everyone says, myself included. So let's check out these two lenses up close, and then we'll get into the side-by-side comparison. Here are the two lenses next to each other. You can see the Sigma 60mm and the Sigma 56mm here. You can see just how similarly sized they are. They're about exactly the same length. Weight-wise, they're about the same. The 56 has a little bit more glass, so it weighs a little bit more. You can see around the front, they are a little different though. So the front lens element on the Sigma 56 is huge versus a compact front lens element on the 60mm. Around the back, both of these lenses have electronic connections because they both feature autofocus. Neither one has any sort of built-in image stabilization. On the front, you can see that both lenses are made in Japan and they are very well built. The Sigma line of lenses, the DC DN line and just the DN line, which is this one here, has always been great. The focus ring on this is, well, you never really use it, but if you did switch this lens over to manual focus ring is nice and smooth. It's electronically controlled. There is no grip, however. It's kind of just a glossy finish on the outside of the lens that you kind of have to grip and rotate. Whereas with the Sigma 56, you do have a rubberized grip, and this focus ring is even smoother than the one on the Sigma 60mm. The thing that is a little bit odd about the Sigma 60mm lens is that it has kind of a loose element or something inside of the lens that moves when it's not powered on and connected to a camera. So you can hear that with my microphone here. Here is what the Sigma 60mm looks like mounted on my Sony a6000. Nice color matching here. It looks really good on the camera. It's not overly heavy, so it doesn't really mess up the weight balance of this camera at all. It's a relatively compact, easy to carry, and easy to pack lens for your Sony APS-C camera. And I should mention that both of these lenses, the 60mm here and the Sigma 56mm here, are APS-C lenses. So if you have a full frame Sony camera, these lenses will work, but in crop mode only. Here is what the Sigma 56mm looks like mounted on the a6000. A little bit different profile here. So it's a wider lens, but it is still compact. And although it's a little bit more front heavy, it's definitely not bad at all. Again, an easy lens to pack with you if you're traveling. All right, so let's take a look at these side-by-side photos from both of these lenses. All of these shots are done on my Sony a6400. Here we go. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to keep all of the Sigma 56mm images on the left, all of the 60mm images on the right. So let's start with this first one. A lot of portraits here. We'll try to run through this relatively quickly. Let's take a look at the center, just the focus on the eyes. So nice and sharp with the 56, and actually there's very little difference here. I mean, the 56 might be a touch sharper, but honestly it's very, very close. So good job from both lenses in this case. You can see the background bokeh is nice and creamy with both. The bokeh, in fact, looks very similar. You get a little bit of green outlining, but it looks very pleasing to the eye, not too distracting either. But I'd say that this one is a tie. The two lenses perform very similarly in this photo. Here's another portrait of my wife. This one done at f4. You can see the settings are the same on both lenses. Now, these lenses, what's interesting as far as focusing is that the Sigma 56 does a really good job of eye autofocus on the a6400. The Sigma 60 on occasion will hit it, but it's only about 60% of the time that eye autofocus works well with that lens. You can see here though, both lenses performing very well, and focus is spot on with both. Again, there's very little to differentiate. If you really take a look at it, the 56 might pull in a little bit more detail, but it is super duper close. And you can see the background bokeh is very similar at f4. Actually looks very nice on both lenses. This next shot is of our little baby, again at f2.8. You can see the settings up at the top. And eye autofocus worked well with the Sigma 56 in this shot. It didn't work very well with the Sigma 60. So you can see the eyes are a little bit out of focus here. It looks like it's focusing on the back of his face. 56, nice and sharp here. So in this one, I'd have to say that the Sigma 56 looks a little better. Here's another portrait of my wife. What I did here was a little bit different. So I just shot wide open on both lenses. So this is f1.4 on the Sigma 56 versus f2.8 on the Sigma 60. And you can see that it's a little bit brighter if I do one and then the other. Here's the 56 and here's the 60. Again, 56 and 60. So there's a little bit more highlights here, and the background is a little bit more blurred. You can see that especially on the ridge where the trees end. So that's the difference there. Let's take a look at this side by side. I'm going to punch in to my wife's eye and see, actually this looks very close as well. In fact, the Sigma 60 looks maybe a touch sharper, but again, we're comparing f1.4 versus f2.8, so you would expect f2.8 to get a little bit more detail, but it's very close. And that's a testament to how good the Sigma 56 is wide open at f1.4, because not very many lenses are this sharp wide open. There's a whole bunch of detail in the hair. You can see that here. And then the background is just nice and creamy, f1.4. A lot of subject separation here. So this is a very nice shot. But the Sigma 60 at f2.8 isn't giving up very much either. This is still a great looking portrait. So both lenses are very good in that regard. This next one is a landscape. I did this at f8 just to see kind of corner sharpness, center sharpness with both lenses. So let's take a look at that. Here is the center. You can see that they look very similar. There might be a little bit more fine detail with the 56, but it's very close. Let's take a look at the corner. Again, very, very close. Let's take a look at the upper left. So there might be a little bit more detail again here. This looks a little fuzzy and washed out. Let's take a look at the other side. Yep, you could definitely see the difference here. So 56 is a little sharper in the corner of the frame. This next shot is of my wife again, f2.8 on both. You have some flowers in the background. Let's take a look at sharpness on the eye. This is really a test of eye autofocus. And again, very similar, maybe slight advantage to the Sigma 56, but the 60 is very close. Similar detail in the hair, and moving out to the bokeh. Nice and creamy on both at f2.8. Here's another shot. This time you have a little bit of greenery in the foreground. I just wanted to see if there was any noticeable difference between the two in rendering foreground elements, and really there isn't. You can see that it's nice and creamy. You can be very artsy with it. Background bokeh is nice and smooth. If you take a look at the focus though on my wife's eye, yeah, there's quite a bit of a difference here. I noticed that once my wife turned her face, the autofocus on the Sigma 60 did struggle a bit, whereas the Sigma 56 still performed decently well. You can see that it captured her eye. That's the part that's in focus, which is what you want with a profile portrait like this. So this one is definitely a win for the 56mm. Here's a little bit of a wider portrait with my wife and my son. So let's take a look at the up close shot here. This is again f2.8, so wide open on the 60 and stop down on the 56. And both images look very close. They look very good. I was trying to focus on my son's eyes, and you could see that the 56 nailed it. It looks like the 60 might be a touch off. It might be a little bit softer, but both images are perfectly usable and fine. And if you look at them, you know, zoomed in just like that, here is the image from the 56. Here's the one from the 60. Really not a huge difference, and then as you zoom out, I mean, you're not going to really be able to tell a difference between these two in performance. There is a slight difference in colors. You can see that the colors are a little bit more stale with the Sigma 60. The 56 just has a slightly warmer tint. And the last side-by-side that I wanted to demonstrate was just low light capabilities, light gathering capabilities of both of these lenses. So this is done at night. This is just a candle. And you can see that you have f1.4 with the Sigma 56, f2.8 with the Sigma 60. All of the other settings are the same. So there is quite a noticeable difference here. The Sigma 56 definitely gathers a whole lot more light with this candle. And what you can notice here is as you scroll over, there are other objects here that don't even show up with the Sigma 60. You can see the table that this candle is on, for example, is lit up nicely, but no such lighting here with the 60. So it's a bit of a difference here. The 56 definitely does gather more light, and you can see that pretty clearly. Now, this is probably not the best example to demonstrate this, but if you are planning on taking portraits at night, the extra couple stops of light on the 56 definitely will be an advantage over the 60mm. So that is it for the side-by-side comparison between both of these lenses, and I have to say it is an easy recommendation. You cannot go wrong with either one of these lenses. They truly are remarkably good. Very sharp, great colors, great autofocusing systems, even though the Sigma 60mm did struggle a little bit more in the area of autofocus. It still is an excellent lens, especially for the amount of money that you pay for it. And that really is the conclusion of this comparison. Ultimately, the Sigma 56 f1.4 is the better lens out of the two, but the Sigma 60mm f2.8 is definitely the better value at half the price. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks so much for all of your likes, comments, and support. If you are interested in checking out or buying either one of these lenses, then definitely check out my links down below. By using those links to Amazon or B&H, you do help support the channel, so thank you. And stay tuned for more videos. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.